welcome to all our guests from different countries, journalists that are here this morning. We've got, just as a matter of note, journalists from different countries, Russia, we've got India, we've got Brazil, we've got Zambia, Kenya and Zimbabwe, Nigeria.
Welcome to Johannesburg, the greatest city in the world. The more I travel, the more convinced I become of that. The vibe, the culture, everything is just great. And welcome to South Africa. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should be investing in this country. Because with all the issues we have, with all the challenges we have, we've also got an environment that actually screams for investment, and sometimes we wonder why we're not getting that investment. We have a population of 50 million, but the SADC population is 277 million. We are the leading economy in SADC. Certainly as a banking association, we're beginning to do a lot of work in the region, and we believe that through South Africa you have access to this market of almost 300 million people. Our GDP quarter one was of 2011 was 4.1. It's come down to 1.3 quarter two for a whole range of reasons, not least of which extraneous factors that we have very little control over. Foreign direct investment quarter two 2011, 12.3 billion. I think well below, expectations and potential. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange has grown 16% in 2010, making it the 8th highest growth of any stock exchange on the G20. In commodities, we first in platinum output, we second in palladium output, we third in gold output, we sixth in coal output, we second out of 183 countries for good practice in borrower and lender protection. One of the reasons we withstood the global financial crisis was the soundness of consumer legislation in this country, the National Credit Act, for instance, which to a certain extent put a damper on credit at a time when that damper needed to be put on credit. Now, within the context of a global financial sector that's actually collapsing, we've gone from 6th to 2nd in banking sector soundness in the world. So significant statistics there that actually demonstrate that the environment for investment is extremely sound.
South Africa is an ideal and strategic location for investment, not only into South Africa but into the rest of the continent, because South Africa is not only a leading economy on the continent, but it also serves largely as a services hub for the rest of the continent. And I think the financial services sector has been at the forefront of that. The banking sector in South Africa is particularly exciting because of its robustness. It's shown its resilience, and largely through obviously some of the policies and I think the frameworks that are in place here. But I think more importantly, it is helping to drive the competitiveness of South Africa.
South Africa and other African countries are really challenged to try and get sustainable in terms of energy provision, etc., etc. And this is opening up a lot of opportunities for the banking sector. And I think the innovations are coming through. So we are starting to see a lot of investment in alternative energies, in new technologies, and I think we're seeing in Africa sort of a stable kind of environment in which investment is taking place and can increasingly take place. COP17 is the big event at the end of this year where the nations of the world get together to negotiate the governance of climate change. And it's a really important event because basically the interests of Africa are very high on the agenda. The COP is taking place in Africa, in South Africa, in Durban. And so the South African government have a big challenge of bringing political agreement and political consensus to the extent that it can around a number of key issues. Important amongst those are making sure that developing country interests, particularly interests of African countries, continue to be forefront of mind. Africa is very vulnerable to climate change, so it's really important. The second part of that is looking at finance mechanisms. How will we finance the adaptation that is necessary for climate change? And that opens up opportunities both at development finance level, but also at private sector investor level.
South Africa is a good place to do business. There are challenges like any other country has challenges, but I think those challenges can be managed. Come and do business, come and visit us around COP17 and see for yourself.